Hi. Good night, beautiful ladies.
Good night.
Good night.
Hello, hello, hello. Good
Hi.
night. Welcome to Caribbean Women's Network. Good night to everyone that's in the chat. Thanks for joining us early, everyone. So my name is Kerra Denel, and I'm the founder of Caribbean Women's Network. And I am absolutely honored to be here tonight with these magnificent Caribbean queens. Caribbean Women's Network is continuing all the Women's Month celebrations. Yes, we're in April, but we matter all the time, right? It doesn't matter. It could be January, February, March. It doesn't matter what month it is. We are celebrating women every day, every month, every year. Okay. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for spending your your Wednesday evening with us, Women's Crush Wednesday. I'll give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves. But before we do that, unfortunately, a family emergency happened with Miss Marcine Joseph. So she won't be able to spend the evening with us, but she sends love to all of the speakers as well as everyone in the chat. So just sending so much blessings to her. Make sure you guys keep her in your prayers as well. But I'd like to start off with Miss Krystal Pitt. Krystal, if you can give a little bit of an intro.
Hi, so my name is Krystal Pitt, co-owner of iHeart Fruit Box. So I pretty much do all things produce and the agricultural industry, and that's what my passion has come to be. And I'm super excited to share just some tips and thought processes on just getting ahead.
Yay! And next up, we have Miss Keithlin Caroo.
Hi, everyone. I am Keithlin Caroo from the beautiful island of St. Lucia. Like Krystal, I am also in the agricultural sector. I founded a nonprofit organization called Helen's Daughters that is really breaking down barriers in terms of how women in agriculture are viewed. We do so in a number of ways, from our free training programs, which are available in St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a farm-to-table cooking show, an agri-tourism network for rural women farmers, and finally, free rural health clinics as well for overlooked communities that have a background in farming and fishing villages. So excited to be here, and thank you again, Kerra.
Okay, you have a full plate. I love it. And next we have Miss Timeka Marshall.
Hi, everyone. Like Kerra said, I'm Timeka Marshall. I'm from the beautiful country of Guyana. I'm a singer, songwriter, performer. I've dabbled in being a promoter, doing events, just everything entertainment, I would say. So I'm just here to speak from an artist's perspective and shed light on that.
Wonderful. And we have Miss Jane Wight. You're on mute. I don't think it went through.
Of course. I mean, 2 years of the pandemic and I'm still on mute. Hi, everyone. Jane Wight, proud Trinbagonian. I am the first female CEO appointed to the Business Supply Group. That's Boss and Script J, Stationery, and a Printery. It's been an exciting ride, and I really believe that my journey from class clown to CEO can inspire others, because my legacy statement is I really want to be a Caribbean female CEO that can inspire people along their journeys, even if they struggle with mental health issues. So looking forward to the conversation and happy to be here, Carol. Thanks for having me. You're on mute.
You know what? I clicked it. I definitely clicked it. So I love how diverse this panel is. And again, so we have Krystal representing from Jamaica. Keithlin is from St. Lucia, Timeka, Guyana, and Jane is from Trinidad and Tobago. So we have Caribbean queens from just across the region. So without further ado, I will have Miss, now it's Keithlin or Keithlin? I just want to make sure that I'm pronouncing your name right.
It's like the man's name. So Keith and then Lynn.
Keithlin. It's beautiful. So Keithlin. So today, Keithlin will be sharing with us about embracing your vulnerability. So I'm actually really looking forward to this. So without anything, here's the stage.
Thank you, Kerra. And again, I think it's so amazing that we have this panel for Caribbean women, because I think for a very long time, it's been difficult to have a group that we can actually share ideas and bond with. So great job. Kudos to you, Kerra. As I said,
Thank
my name
you.
is my name is Keithlin, and I am the founder and executive director of an organization called Helen's Daughters. And I could go on and talk about some of my achievements and what we're doing and so on, but I really wanted to make this personal, on my backstory and what I think a lot of Caribbean women have gone through today. Um, so, a little bit about me. I am a village girl. I am from a small farming community in St. Lucia. From both sides of my family, maternal and paternal parents and grandparents have dabbled in agriculture, and I was never pushed into the sector at all. I'm sure, like many of your own countries, there are certain perceptions when it comes to where you come from, and especially certain perceptions when it relates to agriculture. So again, my family never pushed me into it. I was supposed to, I suppose, break generational curses in their mind, and agriculture wasn't part of that. Um, so it's funny how when I look at my degrees and my backgrounds and so on, from political science and international relations, I ended up right back into agriculture. Really, the reason I wanted to touch on this is because as Caribbean nationals, I think many of us come from rural backgrounds, come from small communities, small villages. We grow up fishing or farming or seeing it or knowing our parents and grandparents and so on are from it, have been fed by it. And I honestly believe that a lot of us run from those vulnerabilities, run from that shame of being from a rural community. Um, with my story, as I said, my parents tried very, very hard to push me into areas, into schools, and so on, to allow me to break that generational curse and allow me to be in a different class, I would say. A class where perhaps maybe I could be a doctor, a lawyer, and kind of uplift the name of the family. And for a very long time, I ran away from that. For a very long time, I didn't want to be associated with a rural background, to be honest with you. Um, I struggled in finding out what was my purpose. For a few years, it was lawyer. For a few years, it was a doctor. For a few years, it was a biologist. Whatever I thought would be a good fit or a good ring to someone's is what I kind of clamped down on. And funnily enough, when I was in high school, there was this, I would say probably one of the most popular girls. And you know, with popular girls, you listen to everything that they say when you're a very impressionable young woman. And she was having a discussion for some reason with my dad. And she's like, you know, I don't know why, but for some reason, I could see Keithlin being in international relations. Like I could see her as a diplomat. And literally, I would say then and there, I decided, in fact, I allowed someone else to choose my path for me. So I allowed someone else to choose the path of international relations. And from the age of 16 until, I won't tell you until what age, but probably more than a decade, I spent studying political science, going into international studies, landing an internship at the UN right after graduate school, and then getting a full-time job at the UN for the last 5 years. And while I was in the UN, similar to my background when I was in high school and so on, I struggled to find what fit. First, it was social and economic development. Then it was mediation. Then it was political affairs and peacekeeping. Then it was maybe the General Assembly. And for some reason, it always felt like if I joined this prestigious institution, everything would make sense. And literally, when I joined it, I felt the most unfulfilled. I felt like I was not making a difference. I felt that even in that institution, I noticed the unconscious biases in a sense and the lack of representation of Caribbean nationals. And I started to get jaded. And also, I felt that I was literally doing nothing for my region. And that was when I think first kind of point, life lesson, is really in finding your purpose. It dawned on me that I spent 10 years focusing on something that somebody else thought would be a good fit for me rather than honing in and focusing on what would be a good fit for myself. As I said, I came from a rural community and I was traveling back and forth while I was in New York, going back to St. Lucia and so on. And I started seeing certain little triggers that didn't sit with me as well. And one of them was that when I was growing up, agriculture in St. Lucia was probably, and I wouldn't say was probably, it literally created our middle class. Agriculture came at a point when it was right after slavery, obviously, especially for bananas. And it created persons, it allowed persons who were only able to work on former plantations to actually have farms of their own, to actually gain access to markets, to actually make money, build houses, send their children to school, and so on. In St. Lucia's case, agriculture actually formed the first political parties in St. Lucia and so on because of workers' agitation in the farms and whatnot. And you notice that rural communities started thriving. They started getting wealthier. They started getting more prestige, more services, more developmental agencies were actually focusing on these areas. And when I started seeing that St. Lucia obviously was veering more towards tourism and not agriculture, because it seemed as if the two couldn't coexist, you started seeing those same rural communities basically falling back into poverty. St. Lucia, for example, 80% of St. Lucia is rural. However, we focus a lot of most of development activities, most of our infrastructure and so on is on the urban centers, which are literally two in the north of the island. And I started seeing that while these communities were plunged into poverty, obviously at the center of it was the fact that the agricultural sector was declining. And aside from that, one of the biggest motivators in the sector was women, market vendors, women that you and I know that we go to the market, we buy from them, and so on. These were the persons that were most overlooked, the persons that even at the ministry level, at the governmental level, were almost invisible in a sense. And it really, second life lesson, is that again, finding your purpose, it's about searching sometimes your past and things that perhaps maybe didn't make sense then, but they made sense now. And for me, it was the fact that I was raised by a very strong grandmother who was a market vendor. And I never understood how she could send 12 children and grandchildren to school, to universities, and so on, while being a market vendor. And she was always kind of fit in the informal sector in agriculture. She was never a certified farmer, never had access to hotels and this and that, never had any training at all. And yet still she was able to invest and do that for her family. And one of the reasons that, and it dawned on me because we had a very close relationship, is that what if we changed the narrative? What if we invested in these women that are often overlooked and actually train them, upskilled them, give them access to markets? Is going right back into investing in a family, in a rural family, in more than 80% of our country, which was the idea when Helen's Daughters kind of came about. Now, I will tell you, Helen's Daughters started in 2016, and I was still at the UN then. And I was working on this part-time and not really sure how I could run this organization, obviously, without being financially sustainable at the time. I needed to have a full-time job. But I saw colleagues in Africa and so on who were going off to run social enterprises and so on. And I started to realize in the Caribbean in particular, is that especially in the Eastern Caribbean, is that there's a lack of strong development models. Oftentimes, we leave development in the hands of government, and that shouldn't be. As Nelson Mandela said, A country should be judged not by how it treats its highest citizens, but its lowest. And for me, grassroots organizations like my own are essential in the conversation in development. I was scrambling to figure out how I could leverage this organization. And one of the first things that I did, and it's kind of hard, obviously we had like a rural women's summit, to find out what the issues were, what the needs were, and so on. We started a lot of advocacy on social media because I noticed if I'm away, I have no money, what can I possibly do? I have some free tools. I have Instagram, I have Facebook. I can start advocating in a way that nobody else has advocated for on behalf of women in the sphere. And it started working for us. But what I started noticing was that many persons, especially men in the sphere, were like, oh, that little girl, this is cute. This little hobby, this is nice. I wasn't taken seriously. The issue wasn't taken seriously. It still isn't taken seriously. I think oftentimes we talk about gender and empowering women and so on, but I think sometimes it can be just talk and very little action behind it. And I got a lot of doors shut in my face. I got a lot of unanswered phone calls, a lot of unanswered emails, but I persisted because I believed in the impact. From the advocacy and the social media, I started noticing that, okay, we're shining a light on these women and their needs, but we're not doing anything for them. And basically, what we noted was we noted a niche in the fact that women in agriculture are not being trained in climate resilience, not being trained in organic production, not being trained in the use of pesticides and how it can actually be really detrimental to our maternal health, to our fertility, not being trained in food safety, essential things, simple things that can make a difference. And obviously, not creating linkages so that some of these women can upskill themselves to the point that they're selling to supermarkets or to hotels on island. And we came up with the idea of the Rural Women's Academy, which was completely free. And for the first time, it was funded. For the first program, it was funded in portion by my salary. But I took a bet on myself, on the organization, and it worked. The first year, we got about 40 women. We continued by the second year. By the third year, when the pandemic hit, we were literally the only agricultural organization that pivoted and did something virtually. And we had 118 women obviously sign up for the course. This really showed that there was a need. There was a need, and these women wanted to be heard, wanted to be seen, wanted a voice. Long story short, now last year was the first time, the first year that I was full time on Helen's Daughters with a fellowship from the Ashoka Foundation. I'm actually the first English speaking fellow in the region, which talks again about the lack of social enterprise structures in our region and the lack of sustainable grassroots development organizations. But mostly for this forum, I just want to focus on the fact of persistence and the fact of literally going through your beliefs and pushing forward without even listening to the noise. Because if I had to listen to continually what perhaps the government agencies said or what other persons said about what I found, my niche, and what we found in terms of our interventions, I would not be here today. Last year as well, we obtained funding from the Clara Lionel Foundation, which is Rihanna's foundation, and finally can get staff and office space and so on. But it leads me right back to the point of asking you and asking yourself again about embracing vulnerabilities. If I had stayed in my shame, in the fact that I didn't want to be associated with a rural village, in the fact that I wanted to be disassociated with agriculture, I would never be here today. I would not be Anika Goodwill Ambassador, for example. I would have not gotten foundational funding in the Eastern Caribbean for the first time. I would not have been able, we as an organization would not have been able to impact hundreds of farmers, women farmers, and inspire them. And that is why it's so important in actually sometimes sitting in your vulnerabilities, because your weaknesses can actually be your strengths. And it's so important to actually sit and really believe in the fact that perhaps sometimes in the past, or perhaps your upbringing and so on, can really inspire or incite your path going forward. I know I've reached my time limit. Uh, but I just want to say, as Caribbean women, as Caribbean men, there are so many niches, there are so many areas, particularly in the development sphere, where we are needed. For so long, we have allowed external persons, external agencies to believe that development lies in their hands. And it's so, so, so important, even in platforms like this, to believe in ourselves, to upskill ourselves, and believe that we are literally, development is key and it's in our hands. So, with that being said, thank you so much. I cannot wait to hear the other speakers tonight, and I can't wait to answer all your questions. Thank you, Kerra.
Thank you so much, Keithlin. Wow, congratulations on all of the amazing work that you are doing. Wow, that's really, really incredible. And I pray that you continue to make a difference, and that, you know, God continues to bless you with the resources that you need to do so much more. So thank you for sharing that story with us. And I love the your weakness could be your strength. I think that that's a very powerful statement, because a lot of people will look at their weakness as obviously a weakness and can't see past that. So thank you for sharing again. Next up, we have Krystal Pitt. And Krystal will be sharing about one of my favorite things, which is manifestation, because I'm always manifesting, and femininity.
Hi, everybody. My name is Krystal Pitt from the beautiful island of Jamaica. Can't believe I didn't mention that before. But I just want to thank you, Kerra, for inviting me. I'm super grateful to be among other beautiful women from the Caribbean, sharing our thoughts, sharing our experiences to help other women learn and grow as well. And, you know, for us to learn, because we are always learning in this game called life. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about manifestation and how powerful whatever you see inside yourself comes to reality. And so I want to piggyback on what Keithlin had mentioned about, you know, struggling to find your purpose, because I did too experience that. Just graduating high school, I was kind of like in a lost direction. I wanted to be an architect, something in the creative field. I wanted to work with animals. So I was in between, you know, architecture, veterinarian, and then I, you know, moved on to marketing. And so I was just in between, in and out, in and out. But a few years ago, I actually transitioned into a plant-based lifestyle. So I am vegan. And I think along that journey and just unlearning and relearning a lot of things, you know, kind of led me to my purpose of fruit, essentially. Well, I would say all produce. And just like what Keithlin had mentioned as well, I do see the need for the interconnection of the communities within the Caribbean in the agricultural department, because just what I've been able to learn and decipher from being in the agricultural department more in the United States is that there is such a disconnect. And I would, you know, it's my dream to kind of help connect that. And it's crazy because, you know, the universe always has a plan and everything happens for a reason. And I'm so glad to be connected with other women that I know, like, after this, we'll be able to even do more work together and, you know, come together. So over a few years, I've just been gaining knowledge on food, fruits, growing fruits and vegetables, and starting a fruit company, creating relationships with suppliers, hundreds of farmers across the US, South America, Africa, and the Caribbean, just so that, you know, the biggest thing that's happening nowadays is food security, which is why another reason why we started iHeart Fruit Box is to be able to supply quality tropical produce to anywhere in the US and Canada. And the plan is to diversify that market within the Caribbean. And I think that's just going to be an amazing breakthrough for not only just the individuals and people of the Caribbean, but the economy as well. You know, being able to create these links and connections so that people have more access to certain things is going to just change the game for the whole agricultural industry altogether, and especially for the Caribbean. As it regards to manifestation, I just believe that everything starts with your mind. I have a book here, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Definitely recommend this book. It changed my entire life, because what you do think about, your thoughts are definitely your reality. It's what drives you. It's what pushes you. If you convince yourself to do something, I guarantee that's what you're going to be able to accomplish. You're going to find a way. You're not going to make any excuses. And I think that's a huge aspect of being able to check boxes off and get tasks done, because, you know, when we become our best selves, we are amazing for other people. And that's really the whole point of, you know, life itself, is to not live in a selfish manner, but to make sure that you're being your best self for the purpose of inspiring and helping those around you. So as it relates to femininity, you know, being in a position of leadership and not being taken seriously in certain aspects of business, it does kind of put you in a position of, you know, thinking like either second guessing yourself or not thinking that you're good enough. But I want to remind you that you are, and you don't have to step out of your femininity to prove that, because life is all about balance. And I believe once you're living in your purpose, living in your true self, it will, you know, everything will fall together and fall in place. A big mission for myself is also spreading the knowledge of food security, growing your own food, making sure that, you know, if the pandemic hits, because when the pandemic hit, it was just another eye opener, because when you couldn't go to the grocery store at that point, you know, what do we do when we have children to feed, or, you know, just your friends and family? And it's very, very important to not only just be able to grow your own food, but help others as well, you know? So that information is definitely something I'm making it a mission to always spread, the importance of food security, knowing your foods, knowing nutrients, because you are what you eat. So whatever you put in your body is how you're going to be, your mind, your skin, your hair. So, you know, it all starts with you. Make sure to get that mental clarity, mental strength, because it's going to take you where you need to go. And, you know, just over this past few years, a lot of ups and downs, not only just with the pandemic, but, you know, just life itself. And with that mental strength, that manifestational power, it, you know, it definitely helped me to get to where I am at now. And I just want to say thank you so much, Kerra, for inviting me on this panel again. And I'm so honored to be amongst these beautiful women. And I'm so grateful for everyone that's tuning in. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Krystal. Round of applause. And thank you as well for always using your platform to share knowledge. You know, I'm always every time you post a story, I'm clicking because I'm like, what did she plan today? What is she gonna walk us through? what is she making? So I for sure really appreciate that you use your platform to educate those, because even though I'm from the Caribbean, there are some fruits that I may not know. There are some things I may not know about planting. I try to have a green thumb. It doesn't always work out. But I really, really appreciate that you use your platform to be able to share knowledge when it comes to, food and nutrients and all these other things. So continue doing the great work that you're doing as well. And it's funny because just yesterday I got a message from someone and they told me that I need to read the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And they sent me the link to listen to the audio. So if anyone's interested, sorry, I actually have the audio. So you guys can just drop a message in the chat and I can try to get it over to you as well. Looks like, okay, I will definitely send it over to you. But
I'll actually check the audio too, because I would listen to it again.
I got y'all. Same thing for those in the chat. I guess that's just the universe, conspiring to just continue to let us be in awesomeness and learn and, all of that good stuff. So before we move on to the third speaker, I'm just going to take a quick little break to say thank you to our sponsors. So both to Duke and Dame and GenX Carnival. I will run a quick ad here and then we will be right back. So Duke and Dame, for those of you who don't know, it's this amazing, amazing, amazing drink. It's like a caramel whiskey. So for those of you who have not tried it, you should definitely get a bottle. I mean, for those who drink. But it has a very smooth taste. You pair it with, some club soda or ginger ale. It's very smooth. So thank you again, Duke and Dame, for making this possible, as well as GenX Carnival. I'm going to give you guys a little, because we're all Caribbean ladies. So I'm going to just show you guys a quick recap from last year Miami Carnival with GenX on the road. Just epicness.
I'm at a happy place in my life every living day. Happy place in my life every living day. A happy place in my life every living day. I'm at a happy place in my life, and it can't change. And I just come out here to do right. So whether day or night, I will never ever change. I'm at a happy place. Touch me. When them girl get a taste, them coulda swear Cadbury sponsor me all night. No girl get weak inna the knees, my flavor right feels so sweet all night. Oh Lord, my kind of style she like. She said my kind of style so sweet. Oh Lord, my kind of vibe she like. She said my kind of vibe so sweet. She said take control like you belong. I rock it up like when the cops stop. Afraid that I make it so now I slow down. And she said increase the speed up and I cruise. One time she said she never feel this kind of love in she life. Oh Lord, she feel like it's the sign of the time. Well baby girl, if this is the last day of your life, you are we go down in a passion of vibes. When them girl get a taste, them coulda swear Cadbury sponsor me all night. No girl get weak inna the knees, my flavor right feels so sweet all night. Oh Lord, my kind of style she like. She said my kind of style so sweet. Oh Lord, my kind of vibe she like. She said my kind of vibe so sweet. She said.
I saw y'all. I saw y'all backstage dancing in your chairs. Don't think I didn't see y'all. I am so ready to be on the road with GenX Carnival 2022. Thank you again to GenX for always supporting and showing us love. We actually have one of the members here with us from GenX Carnival, Miss Asha Darling. Good evening. You're on mute. Yes, there you go. Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am blessed and grateful, and I'm spending an evening with amazing, beautiful, phenomenal Caribbean women. So, my day does not get any better than this.
It's very lovely. I can confirm.
So the countdown is officially on to Miami Carnival 2022 with GenX Carnival. Give us a little bit of insight as to what is going on with GenX.
Yes, so pre-registration is finally open for GenX for Miami Carnival 2022. Yay! So pre-registering is essentially a very simple way to guarantee your spot in the section of your choice for just $150. It's very simple and it can quickly be done on our website, genxcarnival.com. The $150 that you pay when pre-registering will be deducted from the price of whichever costume you choose. So to be clear, it's not an extra payment or fee. It's essentially a down payment to make sure that you get the costume and the size in the section that you want, even if we sell out. But there is one thing: you must register for mass by July 31st in order for your pre-registration to remain valid. So our band launch is set to happen in May, and very quickly I'm going to go ahead and list some of the designers that we are working with this year because it is very exciting. So we have Carnival D designing Daryl, Sean Donraj, Jay Angelique, Natalie Fonrose, Jessica Campbell, Rian Romani, and David Duer. So as you can see, we have some super amazing designers in the lineup. And speaking as someone who has seen the costumes, I can confirm that they're very much fire. So be sure to pre-register because spots are filling up, and pre-registration cuts off on April 29th at 11:59 p.m. No exceptions. And trust me, you do not want to miss out. So once again, the pre-registration process can be done on our website, genxcarnival.com. And if you have any specific questions about the pre-registration process, you can just shoot us an email at customerservice@genxcarnival.com or DM us on Instagram at genxcarnival.
Thank you so much. So as you heard her say, April 29th, 11:59 p.m. Pre-registration will close up. You guys definitely want to register. Get your costumes locked in because when they launch, you can't say if they're going to be available still. All right. So thank you so much, Asha, for joining us. I will see you on the road in October.
Yes.
Hopefully these ladies will be joining us as well. Hopefully we'll get the ladies to fly up and join us as well. Thanks. Okay, so before I go over to our next speaker, which is Miss Jane Wight, just letting everyone know that is in the chat. If you guys have any questions, we're definitely going to get over to them. So in the meantime, if you want, you can put your questions in the chat box and just type them in there, and I'll come to them at the end of the session. So after the last speaker, we'll have a quick question and answer period. So anything you'd like to ask these lovely ladies, you are more than welcome to. So Miss Jane Wight, today, she will be speaking about self-actualization and awareness. You may take the stage.
Hi, everyone. So I always like to start with, my story and how I see my journey, because if you had asked me when I was 6 years old or 12 years old or 20 years old or 25 years old, I would never have said that this is where I would have been. As I mentioned, I'm the first female CEO of the business supply group. And when I look back on my life, I really was the class clown. I was always fighting for last place in school. Like my goal was, it was 42 of us. My goal was not to be 42. And I generally was like 40th place in class, and the highest I got to was 39th, surrounded by so many intelligent women, because it was an all-girls school for most of my life in high school. Was intimidating. I just wasn't naturally academically smart. I had other talents, Everybody thought I was funny. I think so. I was easily distracted. Like I recently read my report card from high school, and it was like, Jane has great potential, but needs to settle down and apply herself to math, And that kind of carried with me, and it's amazing what stays with you for my whole life. I was not smart enough. And the whole feeling of this imposter syndrome and that I'm not good enough started at a very young age. I didn't let it bother me. I always had other talents. I would help organize Mayfairs and parties, and my true strengths would have shone in different areas. And I was always outgoing. Coming down to the end of high school, things started to pull together a little bit for me in terms of how I would study. Different teachers brought out different sides of me. So I was able to, because everybody was doing it, is going to do my degree. My cousin was like, you have to apply. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go. I wanted to be a flight attendant. My father was a pilot. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna travel the world, see so many people. And then I found out when I was about 15 that you had to be 5'5" to be a flight attendant. And I was 5 foot. So that's it. My dreams dashed. So I'm like, okay, what else am I gonna be? And my mom was a secretary. So I thought, okay, maybe I could do that because academically I wasn't as strong. And that's what I saw myself as for a long time. And I definitely struggled. So when everybody was going to university and applying, my grades were kind of not great, but okay enough. I was able to get to university. Somebody suggested hotel and food administration, just like Keithlin. Like somebody else told me that I would be good at hotel and food administration. I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. Transferred later into HR because I thought about working nights and weekends, which is what they would have told us at the beginning. And I was like, I don't want to work nights and weekends, So I kind of stared into HR, still struggling, still failing, still doing okay, very average. And when I got home, because I actually graduated, I felt like, oh my God, I am so it. I made it. I went to university. I actually got a degree. And coming home to Trinidad, I felt so accomplished. And I went on a series of interviews and I got 8 declines. Like, no, you can't go. I don't know. Sagicor told me no. BP told me no. I mean, there was lots of companies, no shade to them because I think that they're great companies. I just got so many no's and one offer to be an executive assistant. And I was like, I'm meant for more than this because I started to get that confidence while at the back, which I think a lot of women have, even more so than men, is that self-doubt. And the self-doubt creeps in. Okay, I got 8 no's. Should I take the executive assistant in HR? Should I do that? Is that what I'm meant to be? But I always had something at the back of me saying, you're meant for more, And my parents never told me what to do. That I always felt like that was a kind of frustrating thing. They never said, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a pharmacist, be a vet. They just said, you can do whatever you want to do. Like, just figure it out. I'm like, that's a lot of not helpful information, but it allowed me to be able to do it for myself and figure it out. And I felt that was hard, So when I started pushing myself even more, I'd taken up an administrative job for a little bit in the Yachting Association, which was quite interesting. But then I actually got an HR manager job. Somebody took a chance on me. I laid it all on the table in the interview saying, I will be the best. Even if I don't know, I will find the answers. I joined the Human Resource Management Association. I said, if people don't see me for what I can accomplish, I'm going to just join everything. I'm going to join everything I can. I'm going to reach out to people in my industry. I decided to do my master's because I was like, okay, what else am I going to do at this point in time? How do I separate myself from the pack? How do I show people that I have potential, which I started to feel along the way? But coming with that imposter syndrome and coming with that not feeling as confident, I started to doubt myself along the way and started getting a lot of anxiety over the period of time. I was never good at sitting tests. I used to get so tense about it. I ran out of one exam in university. It was just a lot of pressure. So I always tried to keep that down. I tried not to take it on too much. I tried to ignore it. And, as I got older, I started realizing that I needed to deal with it. I needed to talk to somebody. I needed to do introspection. I needed to understand the things that I'm good at and then the things that I struggle with and work through a lot of self-talk, sitting down with myself. And I truly believe that in the silence, you can find the answers that you seek. And, finding your life's purpose is not an easy thing. And I believe that I've been put on this earth to lead a best example of my life so that I can show people that even if you struggle with mental health challenges, that it's not limiting you. Even if you're a woman and you feel like you can't achieve that, it shouldn't limit you. Like one of my last grades in math, just before 𝑾𝒐𝒎𝒏 level, I got 38%. And I'm a CU. So it doesn't hold you back if you don't let it. So I had to embrace who I was, that class clown, not good at math, the insecurity that I felt, and I had to let it go. And I worked a lot with a coach, Dr. Shalyan Gajda, who is my fave, and she really helped me in a session, literally like, hug your old self. I'm like, I'm hugging her. Let her go. And I had to let go of this story that I told myself, and the story that said, I'm the class clown. I can't do any better. People are smarter than me. You know, a lot of our self-doubt doesn't always come from people external to us. It comes from within. So it's managing your own self-talk, working through that, putting in the hours with yourself is for me so important. It's what's gotten me to this point. And, you know, moving from that HR to CEO, it was just because I put my hat in the ring. I said, you know what, to hell with it. I'm going to do it. This is what I want. As I progressed in my career, I figured out I wanted to lead people and make a difference in my country, because if I can make 134 people live their best lives, that's 134 people who are not driving crazy on the road, maybe because out of anger or frustration, or not taking it out on their families. And I do believe I have a duty to my country, to my profession, to my Caribbean region. And I think that there's so much untapped talent. It inspires me every day. And you see all the women that are here today, you're beautiful, intelligent, great stories. Like, I'm sitting down here going, wow, you know, and every time I meet a Caribbean powerhouse, I'm always inspired, because there's so much more that we can give. And, you know, to live in your purpose is something that many people don't spend the time to figure out. And I always kind of think, like, how do people live just being okay with where they are? And I will always continue to figure out ways to support my journey, to support others through my journey, because I believe in telling your story and telling your vulnerabilities. You open others up to see that not everybody has it together. You know, I still struggle on some days. I still wonder if I'm good enough. You know, I used to say, oh my God, I'm only a baby CEO. And, you know, my partner, Damien, is always like, stop saying that. You're not a baby CEO. I was like, I feel like one, you know, but I'm a man. I'm the CEO of a group with 2 companies, and we're heading in a good direction. And I think that if you don't feel a sense of nervousness and fear, a little fear, then, you know, maybe not that you don't care, but feeling it is okay. You know, so as I progress in my journey, you know, saying goodbye to my old self and really pushing forward, it is a journey, because I continue to set the bar higher. I continue to have the little bit of imposter syndrome keeping up, and I know my time is running out. So one of the things that I would say is, you know, don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anyone stop you, because I have been told, you know, by people saying, oh, you know, this is a big job, huh? You know, this is a big job. Yes, I know it's a big job. I got this. Yeah, you have to tell yourself that. I've had people who I've said, hi, my name is Jane White, I'm the CEO. They literally did not hear me and said, hi, I'm here to see the CEO. And I want to be like, I am the CEO. But I didn't say that. I said, I'm the CEO. And maybe one day as I go on, I might get a little bit more vocal. But as I said, like, I really do want to be a memorable female CEO that can inspire others, because it wasn't easy. And not that I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, but everybody's journey is different. And when you look at kids today who have anxiety and what the pandemic has done, we need to pay attention to those kids. I mean, I'm not a mother, but I'm so inspired. My sister, who's such a great mom, who's here watching me, hi, and my other sister, Stephanie, and hi. You know, at the end of the day, it's just trying to show up the best you can and continue to ground yourself, because you're not the only one feeling like this. So thank you. Thank you, Kerra, for having me. I'm so grateful to share my story.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. First off, I'm going to say that you don't have to aspire to inspire others. You are inspiring others daily. So let's just make note of that. You are doing great things, as each and every one of you guys are on this panel. So continue to do so. And just to touch on one thing that stood out to me, you said, you know, not everyone has it together. I think that it's very important that we be gentle with ourselves when it comes to, falling apart and feeling as though you're not doing enough, because you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And you just have to, you're figuring it out day by day. But one of the biggest problems is that we are just very hard on ourselves. We may see other people doing things, or we feel like we should be doing more. But we really need to kind of pat ourselves on the back, because we have been doing great thus far. We've come a long way, from where we started. So definitely, I think everyone needs to remember that. Just be gentle with yourself and be proud of the journey that you've been on. You're where you're supposed to be, and where you're destined to be, you will get there. So thank you again, and shout out Dr. Shalian Gajadar. She was actually one of my speakers last year. Another beautiful soul, exudes nothing but positive energy. So yes, lots of love to her. Next, we have Miss Timeka Marshall, and she will be speaking about stepping out of your comfort zone and maneuvering in a male-dominated industry. So hi, Timeka. Oh, we're on mute there. Hold on.
Okay, it's good now.
There you go.
Once again, good evening to everyone. It's a pleasure being here. I'm actually very happy that I'm the last speaker, because I got a chance to hear everyone. And while we're all different, we're in different fields, I think just being a woman, we have so much in common. I think there are little parts that everyone, that you all touched on, that I think we all can relate to. And I can't go into it specifically because there is just so much. So I have a list of stuff. I'm no usual speaker. I just get on stage, and sometimes I have things planned out, and whatever comes, I leave myself to be inspired, and to just work and be really present in the time and what comes. So I had little jottings written down, but I feel like I just want to let whatever come, and once again be present in this moment. So I'll give you a little bit about my background. Once again, I'm from Guyana. I grew up in a countryside, and from very, very humble beginnings. There's a bunch of uncles and aunts, and my cousins, my grandma and grandpa. We all grew up in this one house, and to me as a kid it really seemed like a big house at the time, but it's until long afterwards I made a trip back, and I'm like, man, this is a small house. And so I come from really, really humble beginnings. As a kid, I didn't know at that time, but we weren't well off. My mom moved to the city, Georgetown, a few years later. I grew up, my sister and I grew up with my grandparents and my cousins and aunts and so on. But then when we moved to the city to be with her, I think that's when I realized things were really bad. There were times we would have to go figure out things for breakfast early in the morning, because my mom probably only got money the night before to get something to put on the table. Going to school was rough, because while I was in the countryside, I performed really well in school. I was like at the top of my class. And then just all the change moving to the city, I started to perform badly. There was a lot of trouble at home. And for a young girl, I witnessed a lot and a lot of trauma. And I carried that with me into my adulthood, as we all do, but unknowingly. Because it's for me, and I think a lot of us, we tend to not want to really deal with the bad stuff, and we push it aside. But it never really goes away. It's still there, and it's still buried, and it pops up every now and again, and you don't know. So sometimes when you're going through certain things and you're triggered and you don't even know, it's because, hey, this reminds me of something in the past that had happened and I'm not truly healed from. So struggled in school and all of that. In high school, well, even before that, I always knew that I liked to sing. My mom would play Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston around the house, and I'd be like just singing at the top of my voice, just wanting to get a little compliment. But in school, I was always very, what should I say? I was a little class clown too. At least I'd like to think so. But it was always a show. I feel like I tried to be that funny person because I never wanted anyone to notice certain things with my background, to notice, well, Timeka's coming to school and her socks are looking dirty for a reason, or she's not too well put together because there are things that are happening at home. You know what I mean? And so I would just try to put on a little facade. I entered a high school pageant one year in my senior year of high school, and for my talent piece, I sang and I won Best Talent. And from then on, a teacher not forced, but encouraged me, I should say, to participate in a jingle competition that was countrywide. I didn't want to do it. I'm an introvert and extrovert at the same time. So I'm like, ugh, I'm really shy. I don't want to do this. This is too much. But I participated and I won. And after winning, I just kind of was put into the spotlight. A few persons hired me to model, and like I was just on TV and that kind of thing. And it was very different just being pushed into the spotlight. There were a lot of criticisms just from, I want to say, everyone. And it was a very, very challenging time for me. I was a teenager, and people can be very cruel. I think in a world of social media, we all see it in comments and how people can get just sitting behind a computer or your phone and just typing all sort of stuff. But to be a teenager coming out and trying to do something positive, and something that just exploring your talent and trying to build a career, I was teared down a lot. There were a lot of rumors, and it really broke me inside. I dealt with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression for a very, very long time. And of course, usual Timeka fashion, I would just push it aside. And you know what? I'm just going to keep on going. I'll keep on going. No one could put a stop to me. But at the time, it's just a face that I'm putting on, because it really hurt. It really hurt a lot at the time. So I'm doing music now, and I got a contact to go record in Jamaica. So I pretty much packed up, and I was in Jamaica for quite a few years, networking, just maneuvering myself and trying to figure out the music industry, how to get on the airwaves, how do I work with these different producers, and just how to get things going. And that was another very interesting time for me, because there was no support. There's no family support. My family was never really on board for me being an artist, being in the creative industry. And just to think of a young girl in a strange country by herself, no guardians. And so sorry, I got distracted. I just saw some messages. Ryan and Blaze, hi, I'll check later. Yeah. It was a very tough time being a young girl, new country, a lot of predators, maneuvering yourself in the music business, dealing with a lot of males, obviously the male-dominated industry. No one to really chaperone you and to say, hey, this, that, so just dealing with men, and sometimes people being very, what should I say? I mean, there a specific incident where I remember trying to talk to a producer and saying, okay, when are we going to get in studio? When are we going to work? And then he's literally saying to me aside, when are we going to have sex? And just to hear something like that, it leaves you in such a place. What am I doing? How can I maneuver myself in an industry with people who, one, it's not even that they don't take you seriously. They're just trying to get physical with you. And, you know, sorry, I just see my time up here. Yeah. So that was
You're fine, girl. Keep going.
Okay, thanks. That was challenging. And just coming from Guyana, I'd already built a name for myself. A lot of the big shows that were going on, people would call for me, but yet I would take whatever I get from my earnings, whatever from shows, any endorsements, and I would go invest in myself in Jamaica to figure out, just invest in getting recordings done, my music videos, moving around. A lot of times, if I know I'm really short on cash and I need to go to the studio, I would sacrifice eating just to take that money because I know I need to get a cab and go over to the studio, you know? So a lot of sacrifices. And then that was doing reggae dancehall, of course, since I was in Jamaica. That I did for a little while, and then I really, really got depressed and missed home, and I took myself back home. And then a few years later, I found myself doing soca. And it's a funny story how I found myself into the soca industry just pretty much by accident. There was Guyana Carnival coming around, and you know, I always, you know, I'm a big Carnival fan, those who know me. And I'm like, okay, this is happening, then we need to do music for the festival, for the carnival. We need to have proper representation in the music aspect. And so that year I did a whole lot of soca. Before that, I would have done a few things. I did a collaboration with Skinny Fabulous, a collaboration with Kes, which some songs were bubbling, but it was never really, you know. And then since that, it just kind of like stumbled into the soca industry. And I feel like it is a lot of times when you're searching, you need to take a step back and let things be. And I now take the approach of just being water and be free flowing, the ebb and flow of water. That's how I want to be. And even now I find myself really applying that to life in general, because I've been doing music for over 10 years. I am the leading artist, not just female artists, but artists out of Guyana. I've opened up for Neo, Trey Songs, a lot of the Jamaican acts, pretty much any of the big artists that came down to Guyana, they would call for me to open up. I've now since migrated to the US, and I've just been looking at life a lot differently and just thinking, you know what? And I've heard a lot of the ladies talk about purpose. And I'm here to say that we can have different purposes. We can be good in this area and another and another. And we should not be so hard on ourselves with trying to figure things out. Because a lot of the times when you sit and you think and you ponder and you know, we're really just trying to find answers and find solutions. But in stillness and in silence, a lot comes. And even just like in music, I never really tried to be in music at all. It wasn't something I was really pursuing. It's just something that I just fumbled into. And so in life, it is okay if you don't know exactly what you want to do, if you're not clear. Be still. And if you have something that brings you joy, something that you find really fun doing, do that. Everything that is fun and brings you joy, do as much of that as possible. So you can find yourself having all these many interests and be talented in all these different areas, and that is okay. So in wrap, I feel like I fumbled all over just in wrapping up. I want to say thank you all for having me here. Kira, thank you so much. And I hope that, okay, Blaze, yes, we're sharing my single that we're promoting right now. Anything you want. The new video's coming out soon. Blaze, okay, we're pushing it, yes. So yes, once again, thank you so much. And I've learned a lot from you ladies, and it's such a pleasure being here and sharing this platform. And just like the tagline, yes, women can.
Amazing. Wait, did we lose? Oh, we almost lost Jane. There we go. You're back. Thank you so much, Timeka. So wonderful hearing from you. You know, I always see you on a stage performing, whining, and I never really get to, you know, have a full conversation, a full in-depth conversation with you, to, you know, get to know who Timeka Marshall is. So I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity to get some more insight into your life and, you know, just all of this great information. So thank you. And I pray that you will continue pushing and do amazing things, anything you want. That is the new single that's out. So, you know, we have to make sure and go check it out, buy the music, support the artist. Thank you. So I know we're a little bit over the time. I see that we actually have basically a question each for each speaker. So I will run through these questions and then we will wrap up for the night. So let me scroll back up here. So the first question that we have is for Keithlin. So it says, I'm wondering if you had an interest in expanding your organization to other islands, and if so, if also you had any interest in fair trade labeling. It's a big deal in the US, especially if selling cocoa or coffee.
Thank you for that question. And we expanded from last year to St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are working our way up the chain, and we're also hoping to expand to Africa later on. With regards to the fair trade labeling and fair trade in general, we have a partnership with Hotel Chocolat, which is not only a hotel, but one of the largest premier chocolate makers worldwide. And we actually have a farm on their property. So we are working with them with regards to sustainability in agriculture and also in the fair trade side of things. So yes and yes.
Great. Thank you so much. And the next question we have is for Krystal. So for those of you who are finding it hard to integrate better eating habits into their lifestyle, what advice could you share? How do you stay consistent, especially if you love Caribbean food? Listen, whoever wrote this, oh, Asha, I need an answer to this question as well. So please enlighten me. So you're on mute.
I feel like we all had to do it, right?
Yes.
So thank you for that question as well. As far as eating habits, what really keeps me consistent is the knowledge that I've been able to obtain. So I do recommend obtaining knowledge and sticking with it. So if you learn about something and you know it's bad for you, you know that's also where the mental strength comes in to avoid it. But I'm going to give you some great news. There is a replacement for literally everything. You know, I'm a Caribbean girl as well, and I used to boss up all of the things that you guys do as well. But I've managed to find replacements, and you really realize that it's really the seasoning, because you're not going to eat the meat raw or anything like that. So, you know, just unlearning and relearning, be patient with yourself and understand that, you know, growing up, it took you your entire life to even learn how you're eating now. But if you just stay consistent with just gaining knowledge and applying it, when you do feel the benefits of being healthier, it's gonna motivate you to want to keep going.
Okay, that's some pretty good advice. All right, Asha. So we'll have to converse about this and start, you know, getting a little bit knowledgeable about the things that we're eating. And next up, we have a question for Jane. So this is from Candace. What's one piece of advice you would give to another young woman who may be feeling as you did in your teenage years and may not fully understand the emotions? That
Okay.
mute button.
I was like, why can't I find it? What I would say, Candace, is a couple of things. Reach out to people that you admire and that you have access to, if that's possible, because understanding what others have gone through is something that can be really helpful. Attending a session like this is great. There's so many free sessions that can help, that where people speak about their journeys, especially with the pandemic. There's so many free videos. You could look at books. There's access to information and stories about people like you, because sometimes, or people like me, or people with insecurities, and the more that you know that you're not alone is helpful. Reach out to people in your industry, if in your family circle, and then assess, do you need therapy? And that's not no shade. I think therapy is a beautiful thing, and it depends on how deep seated that is. You have to look at that as well. And some days you just need to hype yourself up, put on some music, tell yourself you a bad bitch. Sorry, can I say that? And and keep going, and keep going.
All right, keep going. Thank you very much. And our last question is for Timeka. So this is from Christina. Being an artist in the spotlight, what do you do when you notice any past triggers coming up? Do you have any coping methods or techniques to help you stay grounded? I am loving the vulnerability in these questions. I just want to say that.
Yes, so thanks for that, Christina. I definitely, one of the things that I did that I know that I needed for myself is to deal with my past. So I just started doing therapy, and I love my therapist today. I think everyone is struggling in some way, shape, or form, and it is very important to be able to unpack these different things and our different traumas to be able to move forward in a happy place. But also, one of the things I do is, I also hype myself up. I give myself affirmations. I practice being happy and staying true to who Timeka is every day. How do I know that I'm staying true to me? It feels like peace. It feels like certainty. It feels like calmness. It feels like a breath, like a sigh, like a release. Like sigh probably isn't the best word, but it feels it just feels good. So I go around saying different things like, "Oh, I'm just awesome. I am a work in progress, but I'm so good in comparison to who I was, where I was. I am doing a great job. I'm proud of me. Like, I'm gonna be the best person ever." Different things. You find what's good for you, what feels good for you, and you say it out loud, and you go ahead saying it all day as you drive around, you practicing it, and it does amazing for you.
And that really, really works. I actually have Post-it notes in my bathroom that every morning I go in there and I talk to myself. And sometimes, like this morning, I looked at myself and I was like, are you really talking to yourself? But I do every morning. Like as I said before, it's very important to be kind and gentle with yourself. So just you are your own hype man. At the end of the day, you should be your biggest cheerleader. So if you have to wake up in the morning and be like, I am the greatest, and be on some cocky stuff, that's what you need to do. Okay, I am that CEO. The same energy that Jane has. That's the energy that you have to carry with yourself, because you are a boss in your own right. You are amazing. You are unique. You are phenomenal. You are a Caribbean queen. So I agree wholeheartedly with everything that Timeka just said. So as we wrap up, I love to ask this question to every one of my panels. If the whole world is listening right now, so if you can leave one message, this is the entire world, universe, every planet is listening. What is one message that you would each leave with everyone? So I will start with Jane. And you are on mute again.
For the love of God. I'm gonna get this at some point. What I would say is, you can only do your best, and your best is good enough, even if it isn't the same on every day. And don't be too hard on yourself.
Yes. Okay, girl, I see you. All right. And Keithlin.
I would say, as Caribbean people, let's not allow development to be dictated by other persons. Development is literally in the palm of our hands. So let's take charge.
Whoop, whoop. And Timeka. You're on mute. No, are you on mute? Yeah.
I would say be selfish with yourself. Focus on you. Be the best person you can. Place a lot of emphasis on bettering yourself and being the best person you can every day, and really taking care of yourself. If everyone would really take care of themselves as they should, we all can get along that much better and put our best foot forward.
Amen. And last but surely not least, Miss Krystal.
So I would definitely say that in awareness, you will realize that everything does happen for a reason. And with each experience comes a lesson that you've learned to either help you get where you are today and help you move forward for tomorrow. So definitely just, take it for what it is and just try to learn and understand from it.
I love it. And I would say, be kind to yourself and be kind to others, because love is always the answer, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much, everyone. Ladies, please give yourselves a round of applause. You guys were absolutely incredible. Thank you for making time to be here with myself and everyone that has logged on. Everyone in the chat, if you're at home, if you're in the car, wherever you are, give yourselves a round of applause for making time. This is you investing in yourself at the end of the day. You're spending time with all these amazing people, learning from their stories to better yourself as well. So give yourselves a round of applause. Ladies, you guys rocked. I can't wait to be able to meet you guys in person. I can't wait for a Caribbean Women's Network in each one of your countries, your cities again. It's coming back. The end of this year, rolling into 2023, we're coming back. But I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys in person and, continuing to support you guys. Whatever you guys have going on, definitely let us know. However we can support, we are there. But again, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to my sponsors, Duke and Dame. GenX Carnival could not have done this without you guys. Ladies, sending you guys so much love and light. And I really do hope that you guys have a blessed evening. Again, thank you for being here. We are here to celebrate amazing women like you. That is, the mission for Caribbean Women's Network, to celebrate women who are doing incredible things in different industries and just creating a space for us to share our stories and be able to connect and support one another. So thank you again for sharing in this. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.